Colleen and I returned to Antarctica with Atlas Ocean Voyages. It was a magical experience to breathe the fresh air, see all the animals, and play in the ice. This is part 2 of our adventure. Isn't this amazing? Look at this scenery. We are in Antarctica, cruising with Atlas Ocean Voyages on the ship World Navigator. We are midway through an 11-day cruise here. This is just stunning. We are in the Lemaire Channel now. Let's show you the highlights of what we've been doing since we arrived in the White Continent. In part 1 of this series, I show you the trip down, crossing the Drake Passage, and give you a tour of our ship. Check out that video too. It's linked in the description box below.
I have cumbia.
Very good, very good.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go!
Or that one. They were in one up. Like that. Or that one.
Very good.
One up. Like that.
Next one.
Excellent.
Let's answer some questions for you now. We have another day of activities left, but I wanted to take the time, as promised, to do a little Q&A. I put out a call for some questions on social media for people who are interested in traveling to Antarctica with Atlas Ocean Voyages. And some of the main questions came up, and they go something like this. The first topic, of course, always is about the Drake Passage when coming to Antarctica. And tomorrow, when we start heading back, that'll be my 8th time crossing it. I can say from what I've heard and what I've experienced from the people who have come down here, generally the rule is that you're just as likely to get a calm Drake Passage as you are to get a really turbulent, violent, shaky, wavy one. And on the way down, we had fairly calm waters. It felt calm to me. I'm used to being at sea a lot, so it doesn't affect me too much, but you definitely could feel it on the ship. But it wasn't anything uncomfortable or really distressing for most of the passengers on board. I saw everyone up and about. A lot of people are taking some seasickness medication, are using the patches and things like that. The number one thing I would say is to not psych yourself out too much ahead of time thinking about it. You might feel some waves. Maybe that's some part of the experience that you do want, but you are worried because you do know you suffer from seasickness. So what you might want to do is consider talking to your doctor or someone who specializes in travel, on travel medicine, and getting you prepped. See what maybe the best solution for you might be, taking medicine like Bonine, things like that. But there are also some other methods, such as like the C-bands, some pressure points that you can wear, the C-bands and things like that on your wrist. But the main thing is, I would say don't psych yourself out too much ahead of time before you even go on the trip. Try to maybe book a cabin in the middle of the ship, lower down. It's going to be more stable. Enjoy the horizon. Don't get in enclosed places. Stay hydrated. Don't take too much alcohol if you are on the medicine, or don't take any at all, probably is going to be the recommendation. And another thing is, if you hear from your expedition team that you are going to have a rough passage, they do a great job at forecasting, so you will know pretty much the types of conditions you're going to be in for before you head out into the Drake, whether coming or going to Antarctica. Start your medicine early before you start feeling the effects. Once you start feeling the effects, it's really hard, almost impossible, I hear, to alleviate them by starting to take your medicine after you start feeling bad. But mainly, again, just stay calm, relaxed, maybe some meditative breathing, enjoy the company of your new friends, look at all the views outside, focus on the horizon, and enjoy the ride. And now some specifics about traveling with Atlas. People wanted to know about the kayaking program. They do kayaking. They also do have camping here that's available. So the kayaking and camping is offered. You can sign up for it ahead of your cruise, get on the list. And what they do is they do the briefings here. They put you in different groups. And people specifically wanted to know, how many times do you get to go and what's that like? I'm on an 11-day cruise. There are 8 kayaks on board. So you will have 16 people going kayaking. So they had 5 groups. So that's nearly 80 people who wanted to go kayaking. And we had conditions as such that everyone was able to go out. I know that sometimes the weather conditions do not allow for as many opportunities. And so maybe the first group will go out, or only a couple of groups will go out, or maybe throughout the whole voyage, they won't even be able to offer it. But people had a great time camping as well. They had over 28 people went ashore and did beautiful conditions for camping overnight, and that's about a 9-hour session. They do 9 at night till 6 in the next morning. They'll call you back, and you come back onto the ship. So a lot of people had fun out there sleeping with sea lions nearby and seeing whales off in the bay. So that was I heard good reports. That was a great time there as well. The kayaking cost $200 per person. They do give you a time to cancel after the briefing to 12 o'clock the next day if you decide it's not for you, based on all the things they say about you needing to have some good abilities in kayaking. They're not going to teach you how to kayak on this trip. You have to come knowing how to kayak already to go out sea kayaking. There's a lot of ice around. But we had a great time. We had great conditions. During our session, we saw a whale, lots of ice, and it's really fun. They take you out for an hour-long session, and that's $200. If you do decide to cancel, you get your money back. If you decide you're going to keep doing it once beyond that deadline they give you to cancel early on the trip, you are committed to it. They will call your group in order. Group 1, they won't know when the opportunity will come. They have to go in and see the conditions where we are going for that day. And then they will say, hey, kayaking is going to be available. Group 1, be ready in about an hour and head down, and we're going to do a kayaking. If you decide like, oh, shoot, I'm looking outside, the conditions aren't really what I was hoping for, it's kind of too late to cancel. You are committed to it. If you decide not to go, you're still going to be out that $200. I'm in my room right now, so I just saw some whales outside, so that's really cool. You're always We had tons of whale sightings on this cruise, so it's been amazing. So I just wanted to take a moment to enjoy that while I was chatting with you. But let's talk about the food. The food on board for an expedition cruise. This was the food is really good. But what I was really impressed by was the variety they have. They have so many different options for food. They have special food events. We had a circus feast last night with a dessert buffet. So that was really cool. It was a 7-course menu, a tasting menu. So that was really interesting. They have the Paula's Pantry, which it's a coffee shop, but it has savory snacks, sweet treats all day long as well. You have room service. You can get in your room. You can get full breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can eat here in your suites if you want to do that. They have an explorer's table, $179 per person, and that also is an 8-course pairing, wine pairing, and other drinks menu. 10 people per dinner. They offered that twice during our sailing, and that is done up in the dome. So that is a great venue. You've got the panoramic views all the way around you, and then you can see the chef prepping the food right nearby, and that was really a spectacular experience. We enjoyed that. Also in the main dining room, Porto, every day they have a breakfast buffet. At lunch they have at least 2 to 3 kinds of salads. They have a carving station. They have a hot live cooking station where they'll be making pastas. They had mussels one day. They had king crab legs, chicken fried rice. Out on the aft, outside, in the very back of the restaurant, outdoors, there was a pot station with the broth and the noodles, and you pick all of your seafood or beef to make your own concoction. That was spectacular. And then the menu every night, there is the a la carte menu, which they have new selections every night. And then they have the traditional favorites that you can get, the steaks and the chicken supreme sort of thing, and some of the salads and vegetarian options. They do offer all kinds of vegetarian options in the salad buffet, everything. They have a very wide variety for people who are vegetarians or vegan. And then they have a special section of the menu every night with sort of a set menu that they put together with a little bit of a theme. So like I say, there has been way more variety than I've usually seen, especially on a ship this size and in these expedition environments. So what about packing? I have a video that I put together based on my previous Antarctica trips, and I have a link for that in the description box below. It goes over all the details on what I recommend packing and how you will dress when you're in these environments and other little things you might need during your trip. So I hope that helps you out. Basically, you're going to have your thermal layers, your mid layers, and your top layers, and of course a thing like a buff to keep your face protected from the sun and the wind. That's very versatile, and you do need sunscreen and sunglasses. But there are several more things that maybe you aren't thinking of that might go into a trip to Antarctica that would be very useful and helpful during your trip, and I have those in that video. So that leads me into, what does Atlas provide for equipment? We got water bottles and parkas, and they do provide boots that are for your use during your trip. So you don't have to worry about any of that, and the parkas are yours to keep as well as the water bottles to bring home. Another viewer asked me about walking poles. Yes, they do have walking poles available at every landing site. So when you go ashore, they have them in a barrel and you just sort of pick them up, and people were using them to help them walk safely and securely through the snow. Each stateroom also has 1 pair of binoculars for you to use. You can bring it out on your excursions as well, or use it around the ship, but you have to return it to your stateroom at the end of the cruise. People are also wondering, what is it like on the ship? What is there to do? There's some puzzles in the lounge for you to use and a few games. There is a duo that does live music every night in the dome, so that's fun. People have been enjoying that. Going to the dancing. We had a disco party last night. And our cruise director, Daniel, also is an excellent singer, and he's been doing a couple of performances, featured shows after dinner for us, and people have been loving that as well. There's also a nice sized fitness center on board, and my favorite, there is a big swimming pool on the top deck and 2 hot tubs, so a lot of people have been enjoying that. And you also have a sauna and a relaxation room and a spa where we've gotten a couple of massages. So I think that just about covers the main important items that people wanted to know about. If you have any further questions, please put them down in the comments and I will check those out and try to give you my best answer possible. I'll finish up this video now with a few more highlights from the rest of our trip. It is coming to an end, sadly, but it's been quite amazing. I want to thank you for following along, and we'll see you again really soon in the next one.